Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And a jolly good morning to you. This is Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And joining me this morning is the former chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Chandra Jayaratne. A very good morning to you, Mr. Jayaratne.
Morning to you, Faraz.
Thank you for agreeing to being on our program this morning. Development Special Provisions Bill. What on earth is happening? Why is there this bill? We have reports it's been rejected by most of the provincial councils, and the Prime Minister appears to be adamant. Now he says he's going to have it amended and passed in Cabinet, and then he will represent it. Why is there such obstinacy in this thing? What's so wrong in it that the provincial councils have decided to reject it?
I don't know about provincial councils. I think anybody with any knowledge of how a business is run, how a small, effective and efficient institution is run, leave alone a country, will find that this structure goes against what is planned here, goes against the best practices that have been recommended.
Right.
For instance, here you will find it under two clauses of the policy development unit section.
Yes.
Clause 2 talks about on any micro subject, the policy development unit can prepare the policy, prepare the framework, how the policy is to be implemented, and also decide on recommend the resource allocation.
Right.
Now, that is entire thing at micro level is being done. But by the same section, under Article 7 of the same chapter, the national policy is to be developed by the Policy Development Office. They will coordinate its implementation, including with the coordination with the provincial councils.
Right.
Third, they will set goals and set the management information office to control the thing. And finally, can you believe they are even going to do the audit? Because performance is going to be evaluated by them. So the policy, the implementation, setting targets, looking at implementation results, and even the post-audit is being done by one institution.
So the Auditor General becomes access to requirements.
Looks like that. In this, whatever they do, Auditor General nor anybody else has a place.
So it's like a special state within a state. It's a bit like Guantanamo Bay and American law.
Well, I would like to say that it goes against any principle of management that says division of responsibility, structures, organizations, commitments of people. You know, one set of people should not do a transaction from beginning to end for purposes of control. Secondly, you cannot implement an effective plan unless you motivate, bring everybody together to one's common song, and then present it. So this kind of one-man show has never worked, other than in unacceptable dictatorships. We are a democracy. So I really cannot see why this government is insisting on this.
If this sort of but it strikes me that if this sort of one-man running of a country worked, if it had worked, President Mahinda Rajapaksa would still be president.
Well,
the people, obviously, for a variety of reasons, voted him out.
Well, not only people here, in the original draft bill that was circulating around, which I think your office and some of your Face the Nation discussed, the first paragraph was the appointment of a panel of experts.
So now what's happened to this panel of experts?
The panel of experts has gone away in this particular...
It's just disappeared.
And secondly, there was a new agency to look at power and energy sector.
That's right.
That has gone away. But
so that's gone as well.
That has gone away, which is, if there's one there where a coordinated approach is necessary, that's a power sector, because without power, nobody will come here and invest. We cannot carry on our growth targets without effective power supply.
Yeah.
But that has gone away, and what have they done? They have included every possible thing. The minister under this act, who's the Prime Minister,
Yeah.
can appoint 3 members to look at any committee. He has a special overriding general management committee consisting of himself, the managing director of the policy agency, and a few others.
You know, it struck me just now, as you've just said this, that we can just do away with the presidential system and tell him to stay home, because this is all power concentrated on the one minister.
Yes, the president is referred to in this bill in couple of places.
Oh, really?
Yes, one is that he has a role in the rural economic development. He's a member of that council.
Right.
And rural modernization. And the second one, he has once a year he can call all the people concerned and do a review.
Oh, bravo. How wonderful. He's actually been given a little bit of work to do.
Looks like.
Wonderful. How charming. No wonder the provincials, councils have rejected this.
No, provincial councils have rejected it because this may not even be constitutional, because some areas,
Yeah.
like agriculture,
Yeah.
land management, which has not been given but which is a part of what they've been asking for, all are being going to be controlled by here. There are 2 sections of this where only the concurrence, or not concurrence,
Yeah.
consultation with the chief ministers is what is required.
Right.
So the policy will be developed, given to them to implement. Now, and the worst part is all assistance
Yeah.
to the provincial councils
Yeah.
in the implementation of their work,
Yeah.
if it is in the areas that are mentioned here, which is high-tech agriculture, high-tech fisheries,
Yeah.
industry, manufacturing, all of them.
Right.
Agriculture and fisheries, they say high-tech. I do not know what they mean by high-tech.
Yeah.
Only allocations will come if it is passed through this development provisions or
I
policy
see. So
development office.
if it doesn't pass through there, if it doesn't get filtered there, no
no
passed.
monies will go in. So no wonder they are agitated, no wonder they have rejected it, because this goes against the total principle. There are some cross-cutting issues in some of the sections. I can give
Yeah.
you the details you
Yes.
need, but which totally take away the devolution of power idea.
Right.
Power is not being devolved to the periphery,
Yes.
which is a constitutional move. The same government, the same Prime Minister is leading a sectoral policy committee in Parliament.
Yeah.
Here, the entire thing is not being devolved, but it is taken into, not to the centre, but to a one specific unit of the centre controlled by himself.
Mr. Jarat, it sounds to me, when we talk to people such as yourselves and we look at all and analyze all the news that is reaching us, it sounds to me that the Prime Minister is not listening.
Well, he hasn't listened, because originally when the first document of this came out, we gave some advice informally to the Prime Minister, saying that this bill could be the downfall of this government, including the reference to that this might be
Yes,
the big Humpty Dumpty fall that he might go through. Despite this being filtered to him through his people who are close to him, he has gone ahead doing it. So obviously he needs it. For whatever purpose, I do not know. Whoever who's advising him, I do not know. But with the type of appointments he has made, which have not worked today in some of the key institutions, and cronyism, partisanship and nepotism seems to be the height of the selection of people, I really wonder whether this is a way in which to control the entirety of the business of the governance within one particular unit.
I want to just pause you there for a second. During the Rajapaksa years, we can look at February 2013, Navi Pillai of the United Nations, she said that she was concerned that there was a growing authoritarianism in Sri Lanka. The governments have changed now. we now have a government that came in on a bandwagon of good governance promises. Don't you think that with these sort of measures, that there is indeed, even today, a growing authoritarianism?
I wouldn't go to that extent, because at least you have the capability as a media unit to say what you really want to say. The media has its say, civil society has its say, and there is freedom to express our views, call for debates, point out things. So I don't think we are going bad as what was thought we were going towards. In some sectors there is definitely a loosening of the authoritarianism.
Yes, but
on concentration of power into one unit, I think the intention here is very clearly one of forgetting cabinet responsibility,
yes,
isolating the president.
Why have the president? Why have the cabinet? We can just have the special super minister. But of course, it's limited in time, isn't it?
Well, the limitation in time is also only for some sections are limited by time. The sunset clause is a big idea which has worked in some other countries. But look at Sri Lanka, 3 years. You will take 1 year to get started.
Yeah.
1 year you will be winding down, so you really have only 1 year of... but can you get people appointed to these units who think this is a career which at the end of the 3 years they are going to be transferable to any provincial council, any government department or anything else. So I can't imagine how the type of people who came and served the Singaporean government, this is supposed to be based on the Singapore model, the type of people who gave up $1 million jobs and came to serve the state are willing to come when they know that at the end of 3 years they don't know where they are going. And the most important thing is, in the end of the 3 years, do you think the 3 years and the day one, that the people who were denied, everybody, they were given commands, people who were in working to commands are going to get up and become leaders of their own and start running those institutions?
Right.
This is being drafted by somebody who does not understand the basics of running a business, running an institution, nor running a country.
But obviously, these people who we are unaware of, but these people certainly appear to have the ear of the Prime Minister.
Well, it's a year of the Prime Minister, or what the Prime Minister wants, or some of the cronies around him may want this for their own power, their ability to be non-transparent, to do what they want to do within these few years for themselves. I really think that this is not the way a democratic government should operate.
And we have people such as Dr. Azim Salih, who's been appointed by this Prime Minister into his position at the IPS. Even he is saying, expressing some dismay that Sri Lanka seems to be missing yet another opportunity. Are we rather good at missing opportunities?
Well, we are not good at missing opportunities. We are making the way for it to be never enough sight.
Right.
The type of appointments that have been made by this Dr. Salih made some very specific references. I do not want to name the people whom he referred. But key appointments of this government have been at fault. Now, let's take a look at the two policy statements the Prime Minister has produced. One last year and one this year. And second one was supposed to have been formulated by a full-time deployment of a former governor of the central bank. But those documents, having reviewed it, do not give any satisfaction to an incoming investor, nor to a local entrepreneur, nor does it clearly state what directions we are going. I think that the policy statements are just for the sake of satisfying the people
Yeah.
But intent of this appears to be to concentratedly do what one or two or three or four colleagues want to run the entirety of the country.
Sometimes I think that you ought to be in the diplomatic service as well, Mr. Jayaratne, because you know, being very nice about them, colleagues and so on.
Well, maybe cronyism then.
Yes, that's the word I was looking
Right.
for.
What I'd like to tell you is that
Yeah.
just take a look at what some of the sections where this body, the
Yeah.
development agency is going, which is created under this bill, has the power to demarcate areas, right, where the policy will apply. So, if they demarcate one provincial council and a part of another provincial council, how can those work together? But to get any assistance, you must get the approval of this development council. So no development can take place. Supposing one of the provincial councils is led by an opposition for some reason.
Yeah.
How can it work with the government in the center who can control them in this way? This is not devolving power to the periphery.
Yeah.
This is bringing power from this is a government which talked about Gram Raj in their original manifesto for January 8, 2015.
Yeah.
Now instead of Gram Raj, this seems to be a Raj of a clique or a crony getting together, trying to do what they think they are best at. They think everybody else is useless probably.
Yeah.
And this is not the way in which institutions can be run. For instance,
Completely unprofessional.
it is unprofessional. It is in management sciences that you all have practiced in your institution, which I have practiced during my career.
Yeah.
It's totally been overturned upside down. And I think this spells disaster if it goes through.
And what are these international watchdogs? What are they doing? Maybe you don't hear about these things now.
International watchdogs under this regime looks like a fad.
Right.
If you take from last year, we had the international development arm of Harvard University coming here and developing a development model in which they gave 4 areas: macroeconomic and fiscal stability, structural transformation and competitiveness, urbanization and development, regional development and social inclusion as the long-term needs for development. Now, I can't see if that is the core of what we need. This bill does not focus on any of those. This bill is looking at giving directions, not looking at getting the macro, those 4 areas together. That was followed by George Soros, Stiglitz, and all these famous names that came with them coming here for an economic forum. Then we had people like Monte Ahluwalia coming here. These are people who have demonstratedly produced something. I believe that 25 or 30 Sri Lankan ministers, MPs and others have gone to Harvard School of Kennedy School of Policy for training. Now, what have they come back? If they have gone to any one of these institutions and learned, they should be standing on their head against this bill.
Exactly.
So what does this mean? This is not probably a one which has been taken with cabinet responsibility. In a democratic way, this bill is an attempt to circumvent all that and go in a direction to establish power, probably thinking that this is only limited for the next 3 years.
Mr. Jayaratne, you headed Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. You have a fairly robust knowledge of the way management works in various big companies and so on. Do you think that if Mr. Wickremesinghe was an applicant for employment at a senior position in one of these companies with this kind of management proposal, do you think he'd get past the interview stage?
Well, if this was, if as you say, there are management tests that are given to management trainees. If somebody produced a management trainee, produced this kind of way as the way forward for an institution, certainly he will not pass the test of leadership that is required in an institution.
So it would probably be fair to say that the Human Resources Department at the Capital Maharaja Group would have rejected the application at the time.
I'm certain it would be. Because what you require is what Eisenhower said. You can't push a string. You have to pull a string back. That was the order. The example he gave his troops going into battle for D-Day. This government appears to think, or the leaders of this government, or at least some of the leaders of this government seem to think that you can push strings, you can push people at will without seeing what they want, seeing what their expectations are, seeing how they can be motivated to follow the line by pulling a string. You lead with them following. That is what we need for this country's development.
What did you make out of what Dr. Sarat Amunagama was saying, I think yesterday or the day before, in support of our Prime Minister's wishes? There's one talking about people pushing people, and you were talking about the people who may come, who may not want to come because after 3 years they wouldn't have a job or they wouldn't have a direction as to where they're going. On the same lines, we have the press reported this morning that the director of the FCID just been promoted to DIG state, has been transferred out from the FCID to Monaragala. Sounds very sort of a punishment transfer. Then we have information about this company, development agents, alternative development agencies, with a $13 million contract. Do we need all that?
Well, I would suggest here that why don't we get the Auditor General to do a post-audit of how we have used during the last regime. Let's take, we had the former IMF chief here, we had advocacy groups working, and we paid millions of dollars under the last regime, and we all blamed Mr. Cabral and his team.
And we mustn't forget the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So that, let the Auditor General look at that segment also. Let them look at now any expenses paid for Harvard University International Development Agency. They are coming and setting up this development model. What has happened out of the Economic Forum, the costs of this particular agency. They have also been here doing 2 other assignments. Let the Auditor General do what is called a post-audit of efficiency, effectiveness and economy. In economy they can look at whether a local team could have done better, and let the government who's talking about transparency, which is talking about accountability, get the parliament to be supported by a post-audit of how we have used international agencies and others to come and work. Our experience to be subject to a post-audit and see whether that is positive or negative and what lessons are there for us to learn.
Going back to this company, Development Alternatives, in their involvement in South America, for example, I think in Venezuela, in print, one author is accusing them of being a CIA-operated company or a CIA company. And if you consider their involvement in various other countries, it's all rather very bordering on the along the edge, if you like. The question is, have we actually invited the CIA to come and help us?
Now, I'm sure somebody would have done due diligence before they sign. Nobody signs a contract without knowing the contracting party's credibility and their operational abilities. So I hope that the people who decided to sign up this had done their homework.
But it's like you and I both would have thought that when the central bank was issuing its treasury bond matters, that everything was all right. We hope that, because what else do we want to do? The government come in, elected on this bandwagon of good governance promises, and we are going to hold everybody accountable and so on. It's 2 years later. We have a legitimate expectation that they're doing the right thing, just like you're saying now.
But that particular one that you brought out, the bond, is even worse, because they did the one mistake, or one, let us say, mistake in 2015,
and then they
1 year
repeated it
later
again.
they repeated it in a multiple way.
Exactly.
So that is, to me, absolute fraud,
Yeah.
absolute lack of integrity, and
The integrity has gone right out of the window. That's why this special provisions bill and all the implications, all these golden nuggets of mismanagement that you are highlighting, and which is against the grain. That's why the public and the civil society are so much afraid of.
let's leave this. Civil society out. Supreme Court said that its conscience was struck by the coal deal, and they are going ahead.
And
I'm dismayed by the fact that a special committee that was appointed supposed to have cleared it. But I understand the committee was not asked to look into the real economics of this transaction, the real controls and the compliance and fraud on it. They were asked to see whether the government lost something, and they very narrowly gave a narrow terms of reference, a narrow answer. Why don't we make them all transparent, debate things and fine? So I really think it is more or less of forgetting democratic ideals on which they were elected, forgetting what has been promised, sometimes even forgetting the needs of the public, as we can see from your Gammadda programs, as well as your the special program of assistance that you are doing following the Gammadda program. The needs of the people seems to differ from what we are investing. The millions of dollars or millions of billions of rupees we are now allocating for vehicles to MPs and ministers to everything else versus what the people want. The priority, unfortunately the missing part of this bill is where do we start with, where do you start policy? To me, policy starts with a set of what's your mission and what is your core vision.
Right.
If the vision and the mission is to help the people grow and be sustainable in their growth for themselves and for the nation, I think the way to go about is not this. And that the correct way is what we were promised in the election manifestos and election platforms, and this is totally going the other way.
It's almost as though this government is led by Mr. Wickremesinghe, and we'll have to say by his cronies. It's almost as though they are on some solo adventure. A little group of people are doing so without caring one iota about the people's aspirations. And if you have joined us and if you followed us on this within the government, the movement, it is astonishing. It is astonishing that that this government can be so uncaring of the people. There are people out there who are genuinely suffering. They don't have some of the basics. Instead of having a proper bridge to get across, they've put together some planks. And there are old people who are, like trapeze artists every day. And this government doesn't seem to care one jot about the people.
I believe they may be even caring for the people, but their priorities appear to be. Now, let's take just one particular aspect. Now they are talking of the monorail or the light rail for our traffic problems. Now the question is, what is required for a majority of people? Should it be that, or should it be improve the railway systems, our normal railway, which can bring a lot of people, the bus system? So I think there are alternatives. Alternatives are never debated. Now even the power sector, We have at the last minute come and cancelled the coal power Sampur, and then that decision was much delayed, and now when you cancel it, the impact of that on investment, on the country, people have been forgotten. So sometimes we are making the same mistakes of the past continuously being made. I believe that the debates in Parliament and others must focus on some of the issues you really raised here.
Very quickly, I have a message from a viewer. It's a question to you. It says, please ask Mr. Jayaratne what he would do if he is appointed as Finance Minister. He seems a very good candidate.
No, I don't think I'm a good candidate, but what I can say is what the present Finance Minister has delivered has only led to chaos. So I don't think the present Finance Minister has proven himself to be one who understands how to balance the budgets in the correct way, considering all the priorities that must be put together. And I believe here again, he may not be having the full support of a good team of people who are there in the ministry.
It would help if he started, even at this late stage, to address some of the concerns that Sunil Handunetti raised in Parliament.
I would like to end up by also saying that the professionals of this country, the chambers of this country, and the academia have also failed because we have not, I think, acted sufficiently strong. We are willing to accept the democratic freedom we have had in exchange for not taking it beyond democratic freedom to democratic governance. I think that's the change that we have failed in civil society, academia, and the professionals, and especially the chambers of commerce, who seem to have gone totally silent with this government.
Sad. But, Chandra Jayaratne, thank you very much for being on Newsline, and we do appreciate your presence and your efforts at trying to establish good governance. On that note, it's not all doom and gloom. Do continue watching Newsline. We're here Monday through to Friday, 7 to 7:30. Take care, have a great day, and God bless.